Welcome to the Whoopty Wop.
Drifting off and getting
We're
away from
going to
that.
keep going over it, and I'm going to keep twisting your words to remind everybody we do not owe white people shit.
It's a place.
I run the risk, and it's not my channel, so I will just drop this fucking link.
Just curious, you know who's your
hand me the Whoopty Wop.
Well, I know it's an Indiana thing.
You got some money?
You know
We're going to the Whoopty Wop.
I actually don't.
Okay. Got something to do with things.
Throw some cool.
And from a future, you're going to get certain things that are going to happen.
Well, I do know at one point Indiana was like the center of the Klan.
Like cool. And she already know to get my dough. So
we're gonna try this again.
All right, we're back.
Maybe.
Let me see if I can find it in text.
Damn, you know what? This has got to be a YouTube problem.
So YouTube was having problems last week as well, and then they were like, "We don't know what's going on." So let's see.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever had a problem like this on YouTube, but I guess we're gonna have to go with it, folks. Apparently, YouTube is having some sort of problem with permissions in the chat. So the chat, your comments may work, your comments may not work. This is a whole new show, and I haven't changed any settings. So I see Natasha typed something in the new chat, and my response didn't show up. So I don't know what's going on. When I type something in StreamYard, I get YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means they think it's spam. Try changing it in a bit.
Yes.
It's something.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. No, we'll just have, if the link is pinned, if anybody has a burning thing they want to say, just click the link. Otherwise, type in the chat. It may go through, it may not. So we'll just pick up where we left off. And by the way, after this is over, I have a Democratic response, which I thought was just tepid at best. And then there's a lady. Do you know who Summer Lee is? Queen?
Yes, I do.
Well, she did a response for the family party or something, family something party. Hers was way better. It was on point.
Yeah,
so
I heard
that one too. Yeah, Big J. I wouldn't have even known about it except Big J showed it this morning.
Yeah, because he got a crush on somebody, so of course he would know.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know what to say about that. I take it she lives in Houston or something.
Dude, I think he's somewhere in Texas.
Well, I mean, he's old enough. He should shoot his shot.
I think he said he did.
Oh, really?
I think that's what he said.
Oh, well, good luck to him.
Oh, she's the representative for Pennsylvania.
Oh, is she? Okay. For some reason, I thought she was Texas. Well, all I have to say is hopefully she can tame him.
I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both, I got him in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place, and now I've got him because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I wanted to claim the.
He got him. I thought the Olympics was going to be here anyway, right?
Dude, they call that stuff years before he's even in office.
Like he's acting like he personally. Now he might have gotten FIFA though.
FIFA's possible, but the Olympics, nah, dude, they know that way in advance.
Yeah.
FIFA was the organization that gave him that fake peace prize.
Yeah, he's thick as thieves with them.
250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup, so we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming, and that is exciting news.
People don't even watch the World Cup, bro.
So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday.
Damn, he's still ambulatory.
So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you.
Well, the Democrats
Even
stood
in
for
times
him.
of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas. One of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aid, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together, we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Oh, Queen, I see MOT's out. Yeah, there is a known issue. There, everyone in the chat, there's a known issue. I just checked. YouTube sent out an alert, so I guess they're working on it. Sorry about that. I miss you, Kelvin.
Largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans.
Once again, this I'm using the version of the State of the Union that this is whitehouse.gov. So it's going to have the production, the full production stuff on it. You wouldn't, I don't think you'd have seen this on a network.
All Democrats, every single one of them voted against.
Is what now?
I'll be stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Is that normal?
Yeah. I think probably a few more than normal, because, Trump is their Führer. But yeah, it's normal.
These really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children. Beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this
very
evening,
heavy
she's
equipment.
Happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and her expanded.
Wait, hold it. See, this is what I can't stand about these guys. Richer. How is she rich? Yeah. Trump is just God damn, dude.
A decade?
And child tax.
Yeah, I'm like, better off, well off. See, this sort of stuff is intentional. This guy has these MAGA blacks and all the other MAGA folks. He's just got them like, how you've heard the term he's leading them by the nose. Dude,
Yep.
these guys are weak-minded. Believe in this shit.
Credit done
She's
again by
richer.
Republicans. Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year.
Yeah,
cutting the tax
$5,000.
bill in
I'm
more than
rich,
half.
bitch.
I don't know how they did that. My taxes went up.
Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you.
Yeah, my taxes went up.
Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it.
Salute, Brian.
I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell.
See, this is exactly what you don't fucking want. Okay, you do not want these billionaires doing shit like this. There is no free lunch. Man, this is scary. This is scary.
Have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children.
That man, they
Great
money.
people.
He's been robbing the country left and right. They deserve to lose every dollar that they lose. It's crazy. And then with him being in the
Michael,
Epstein
how do you
file,
make all that
I
money? He
wouldn't
said,
put my
well,
charity
I just sat on
information.
my door.
See, this is you just do not want these billionaires with their fingers in the federal government. These guys are sharks and they don't do shit for free. He didn't give $6 billion without some sort of strings attached.
Well, I mean, Trump been getting rich out the government since he been in office. So, hey.
Well, the thing is, like I said, I don't like the mingling of private money into government programs because these guys want to privatize everything as it stands now, and this is just that they're getting their greasy little fingers on these government programs. I don't like it.
In school.
Is it a government program?
And sell them to people.
Yeah.
It's a Trump account.
I assume a Trump account is some sort of government. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Of course you can't because the chat's not working right. But these Trump accounts, I don't think that's private. Maybe it is a private account.
I think it's private because he got that private pharmacy thing for you to get your prescription.
Okay, but that's like some sort of public-private thing.
I think this Trump account is the same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. Trump accounts are basic.
Not the same program, but I think he's structured the same way. I think that's some Trump stuff. Let me look it up.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at the IRS site. Yeah, this is basically a government program. These Trump accounts, somehow or another, the IRS Let's see. Who should file steps to file? No, that's not what I want. Somehow or another, it's some sort of public-private partnership. I don't know how they work, but the account features a pilot program contribution of $1,000 for children born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028, who are U.S. citizens with a valid Social Security number. Learn more about Trump accounts and how they work. I guess what I'll do is, this is somehow or another, it's tied up in the government, and it's going to launch on July 5th. So enroll your child by making an election when you file your taxes. Yeah, that's not private. If you're having to, if it's if it's something having to do with you filing for it on taxes and stuff, I just do not like this sort of this just doesn't sound right. It doesn't pass the smell test. What's up, Yeti?
Government sponsor.
Telling and pretty amazing story. That's called the American Dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that, but I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad.
Oh, the chat may be working again. Yeah, the chat, everybody, the chat seems to be working again. At least my last two went through. So I missed y'all.
Additional contributions. These young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to TrumpAccounts.gov.
So, hey, Yeti just contacted me on Discord. Apparently, it's emojis only. Wow. You know what? I actually kind of like that. That ought to be a feature, not a bug, where you can only text emojis.
Oh, is that what it is?
I've been a lot of people doing it, setting every record in the book.
Well, that's what Yeti's saying.
They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround.
I can see
the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
and the S&P hit
emojis are coming
7,000.
through.
Where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that
I
were
actually
ripping
think
us
I like
off
the
for decades
emojis
are now
better than
paying
words.
us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly. You all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done, and they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling.
Unfortunate. Yeah, that Constitution gets in the way every time, doesn't it? What an idiot.
That thing.
But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made. Right, Scott?
Yeah.
Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe
he is so wrong. He is so wrong on that. Dude, this dude just wants to go around the Constitution. One of the ways he proposes doing it, he can do it for like 90 days, but Congress has to approve it at some point. He's going to fail again. See, this is what the MAGA blacks and all these MAGA people don't understand. Trump is not that smart, and he does not have top tier people working for him. Okay. He probably, as a matter of fact, maybe tomorrow, there are a couple lawyers that do a podcast for the Bulwark. And one of them, damn it, I can't think of their names right now. Okay, Queen. They basically say that, you know what, had Trump showed some restraint, he probably could have gotten away with it, but he just wanted to slap tariffs on everybody, and he was just arbitrary. He basically misused. If he hadn't gone so far with these tariffs, he might have been able to squeak by, but he just went too far. And the same thing's going to happen. Trump going around the Constitution, he does not have that kind of legal talent around him to make it even a possibility. He's going to fail.
Paid for.
He's going to have to go through Congress, and I just don't know why the hell he thinks he's this smart. The Supreme Court slapped his ass down because he's excessive with this overreach.
By foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America.
Yeah.
For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New Scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now, the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly use the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens.
Everybody, whilst you're here, make sure that you do hit the like button. And if you happen to be new here, subscribe to the show. Uh, as boring as Trump could be, we need to weather this storm so I can laugh at all the lies. And I'm gonna ask a special favor. Yeah, I'm gonna open the Sovereign Beer Fund early this week. I need investments so I can sit here and make it through this cavalcade, this cornucopia of lies and delusions.
Citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem.
Now, usually they don't say it. See, they're gonna.
They
Part
knew
of the
their state.
reason, probably part of the reason this shit lasted so long is they stood at the end of every sentence.
Statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our
This dude is real presidential.
policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those
A
prices
dirty,
are
rotten
plummeting
lie.
downward. The price of eggs is down 60%, Madam Secretary. Thank you. The cost of
like
chicken,
she
butter,
did it.
fruit,
She laid,
hotels,
she laid all
automobiles,
the eggs.
rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly.
No,
Just
sir.
hold on a little while.
Nope, not where I'm living. Beef is sky the fuck high, and it's going up every week. I hadn't. I got groceries last week, and I hadn't gotten groceries in probably a month, maybe a month and a half, because it's just me here. Dude, I was shocked. Like, I'm like, no, I guess I'm gonna wait till they have a sale on ribeyes before I buy one. Beef is skyrocketed. It's not coming down, Mr. President.
Getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great healthcare plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost.
Nope. That's pretty much what's happening now with the subsidies. And it's not going to happen.
In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Sounds so simple, so big. And I did
They're
that
gonna
in my first
stand
term,
at
and the
the end of
Democrats
every
immediately
sentence.
terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened. And now I'm bringing them way down on healthcare and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action. But I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere. The lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big, Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the TrumpRx website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom.
I'm not buying nothing that say Trump. I'm sorry.
Come on now. Even if it saves you.
So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing I'm not sure it matters, because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes.
That might be something I could clap for.
To make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Rachel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon. We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money.
Typical?
We have millions and millions of people because the stock market has done so well.
Yeah,
setting
I
all
don't
those
think
records.
so.
Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year as we ensure that all Americans can.
I wonder, oh shit, Ryan, if you're listening to this, I want to know what you think about that. So the government is going to be matching. Oh shit. Talk. I got, oh wow. So much for fiscal responsibility.
Can profit from a rising stock market. Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
I'm confused.
About what?
I thought Republicans wanted less government involvement.
Fiscal responsibility. This comes under fiscal responsibility, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that's gonna fly. I think he's just whistling Dixie on that. It's not gonna happen. And hearing Donald Trump talk about Congress being corrupt is hilarious. This dude has turned the emoluments clause into toast. Hearing Donald Trump talk about corrupt politicians is dude, I think Donald Trump actually does have a sense of irony.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer.
Yeah, let's go ahead and stigmatize a whole community of Americans. Good job, Trump.
Good job.
And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
No war on fraud.
He'll get it done. Find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colden was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life.
Now, this
She
is
wouldn't even be
actually
able to
interesting.
eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk, and she's here this evening.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and ruin the punchline. He tells her to stand up. I was like, dude.
With her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up.
Now the girl. Now, I guess if the girl can't walk, maybe she could stand up. But I'm like, do you even hear yourself, you fool?
Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens.
I wonder if he can actually do that. Maybe he can do it because the roads are federal, but I'm not sure that he, that separate the federalism. I'm not sure if he can do that. That's like a locality thing.
And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien.
I kind of understand the need to drive this point home, but I wonder if he's not just boring on the gory here. What do you think?
What you say?
I think, I understand he wants to highlight all the horrible things, that happen,
Uh,
when, crimes like this happen. But I wonder if he's not going overboard with it.
he just up there lying.
Well, I don't think, I don't think he's lying about, the little girl that gets injured by a truck driver who's an illegal, or, this murder that happened. I don't think he's lying about it. I wonder if he's not laying it on too thick. Um, I wonder, what do y'all think in the chat? You can put a thumbs up if you agree, or a thumbs down if you disagree that he's laying it on a little too thick with the gore. Maybe it's just me though.
I think he has to though.
And brutally, real.
He has to.
He campaigned that all the illegals that was here was criminals and all this other stuff. So he got to exaggerate these few stories to make.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. But the thing is that if you actually do the critical thinking, the Americans commit way more crimes, per capita, I think even. There's a number I saw and I can't remember the exact details, but relatively speaking, um, these people commit fewer crimes. They get bigger press. But what I'm saying is we know the problems. I personally think the reason he's doing it is he's underwater, even with his immigration policies. What happened in Minnesota just tanked, a lot of people's support, because they think he's, the ends are great. It's the means that are the problem. And I think he's just laying it on because his ratings are sagging, even on the immigration issue.
You can't
But
just go killing Americans and think people gonna be okay with it.
Okay, well, Americans do it more than the illegals do it. That's my point. Americans go around killing Americans at a way higher rate. He is exaggerating, is what I'm saying. He won't tell you that, yeah, while it's tragic and illegals committing crimes is horrible, he won't tell you that, it's not as common as he would have you think. And even with the bad stuff that illegals might do, it doesn't justify his tactics, especially when Americans are getting killed in the process.
Right.
So, I understand. The problem is especially the MAGA blacks that I run into, they can't seem to be able to kind of put things in perspective. So it's effective. What he's doing is effective, but I wonder if he might not be overplaying his hand, even with people like the MAGA blacks.
But just brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight, I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Oh, he put him on the spot, huh? Yeah, you know what? Trump is the great divider.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. to stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%.
Nope, it's not.
And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
She looks overjoyed.
And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing. Incredible. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? Huh? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady, now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both. And Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget there were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America. Came in through open borders. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Evalie. Your daughter was a true American patriot.
You know, you could also make the argument, had Trump not overreached with the National Guard, she wouldn't have been there in the first place. Again, this dude, he's overreaching, and people are suffering because of it.
And she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like it. So sorry. Thank you very much. She's a great young lady. I saw reports that were like perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night. And she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation
and she
that I
called
had
you
with her
sir.
that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melody? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart.
Let me pause this right here. Everyone, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you happen to be new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe. And check us out. Kick the tires. It may be the place you want to be. It may not be. Because I've had to suffer through this horrible man's divisive rhetoric, I have opened the Sovereign Beer Fund early for investment, a day early, as a matter of fact. So feel free to inebriate me. And unfortunately for our chatters, it appears only emojis are working. So if you're out there and you want to say hi, send a wave emoji and I'll wave back. YouTube is working on it. It's a known issue. So in a way, my usual trolls will be limited to it will be limited to middle finger emojis apparently. And after this, it's almost over. What's up, Joshua? What's up, V-Dub? Zhang? After this, I'm going to show the very tepid Democratic response. And then I'm going to show an even better response, what the Democratic response should have been. So just stay tuned for that. I actually do have things lined up for post-Trump. And the link is posted if anybody wants to come up and talk about the any of the responses to the State of the Union or anything like that. So feel free.
We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia.
Almost a war a month.
Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said
it would have been a
Minister
nuclear
of Pakistan
war.
would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared.
Zhang, I'm assuming that this word you're using is meant to address Donald Trump. So I approve of that message.
And I also want to thank the man they report to, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Thank you, Marco. People like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever.
No, I don't think so. By the way, just on a note, I just got this story in. So the United States will not allow Venezuelan government to pay Maduro's legal fees, his lawyer says. So, we have our own vassal state now. So congratulations, Trump. America has always wanted a vassal state, and you, sir, have provided for America. Our own vassal state, folks. Our own vassal state.
Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. That was an amazing period of time. And they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back, but we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the ninth war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. Good. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republican in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed at my very strong request to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 2. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval.
75. He just said 76.
$1,775. I said, wait a minute. For $1 more, we can have 1776.
He was
I said,
telling
we're
a
going to figure
story.
that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. $1 more. I said 1776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it. So we're honored to do it. They deserve it.
Jesus Christ.
And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel
That's
kingpins
supposed
of
to be
all.
a
You saw
joke.
that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out.
Hey, Zhang, I approve of this message as well. So clown in an up arrow. Wait, hold it. Let me reposition here. Let me reposition. So are you saying that Zhang is a clown or Donald Trump is a clown? Help me out. Since we're limited to emojis, it'll be challenging your communication skills.
One of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched. They saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby because we did that. My baby is becoming so important.
So they're clapping for Space Force?
And America's armed forces overwhelmed.
These motherfuckers will clap for anything, apparently.
All defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person.
Ooh, that's a
Enrique,
game show
please
move. I
come
love
down.
it. Game show move. This is your life.
Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro, really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon me.
Well, looks like our chat abilities have been restored, so that's a good thing.
Madura's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter, to deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine guns stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission. We probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take the searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy, Eric, and Amy. Come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. right.
Yeah, I actually I understand how that CNN poll is at 64% approval because of stunts like this. So he knows how to put on a production, that is for sure.
Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House, and Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah, this is actually somebody, Timothy Snyder made the comment. See, all these military honors and stuff like that, this is peak authoritarianism, borderline fascism. Yeah, This is this is straight out the playbook, the fascist playbook. Now I imagine next year, I expect Trump to lead all the senators and congressmen in the Pledge of Allegiance before he starts. None of this stuff needs to be done at a State of the Union.
Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it. But if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday.
Jesus
But you know, that's our
Christ.
highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing. And
For what?
It's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think Trump has that kind of rhythm,
250
Natasha.
years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done.
Yeah, if Trump knew American history, he wouldn't be if anybody's ever curious, read about what happened to Thomas Jefferson when he was governor of Virginia and the the British invaded. He would not be so impressed with Thomas Jefferson's bravery. just look it up. You'll know what I mean.
Done everything we have achieved.
Thomas Jefferson may be many things, but a brave man, he was not.
Has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history.
Natasha, I know what he's saying, but I want to hear it from him because that'll be grounds to get your ass suspended or bounced for 24 hours from this chat. I want to hear it from Zhang. The Tuskegee Airmen could never do what exactly, Zhang? I want to hear it from you. Type it in the chat because you know what's going to happen if you piss me off.
Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies. and we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel, and then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years, they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Yeah, God bless Trump, the warrior king. or warrior king. I'm sorry, I meant philosopher king. All right. So to me, this was very nationalistic, I don't know that I've ever seen. I mean, I know military people have been honored at these sorts of, at State of the Union. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll just, well, anyway, I'm not sure that it just had some weird, authoritarian / fascist overtones. And maybe it's just because, I'm biased, but so be it. This was the Democratic response, which I didn't hear the whole thing. I guess we'll do that now, but I was none too impressed. And it's taking place at Williamsburg. And then after this, Ted Sturmer, the historian, predicted that this kind of response would happen. He was just so spot on.
In just a second, you're going to hear Abigail Spanberger, former CIA agent, former member of Congress, just elected to the governorship of Virginia, first woman governor.
Good evening. Good evening and welcome to historic Williamsburg. We are gathered here in the chambers of the House of Burgesses. In 1705, the people of the Virginia colony gathered here to take on the extraordinary task of governing themselves. Before there was a Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, or a Bill of Rights, there were people in this room. The people who served here ultimately dreamed of what a new nation, unlike anything the world had ever seen, could be. The United States was founded on the idea that ordinary people could reject the unacceptable excesses of poor leadership, band together to demand better of their government, and create a nation that would be an example for the world. And this year, as we celebrate 250 years since America declared our independence from tyranny, I can think of no better place to speak to you as we reflect on the current state of our union. Tonight, as we watched our nation's lawmakers gather for a joint session of Congress, we did not hear the truth from our president. So let's speak plainly and honestly. And let me ask you, the American people watching at home, 3 questions. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? Is the president working to keep Americans safe both at home and abroad? Is the president working for you? As I campaigned for governor last year, I traveled to every corner of Virginia, and I heard the same pressing concern everywhere. Costs are too high in housing, healthcare, energy, and childcare. And I know these same conversations are being had all across this country. Because since this president took office last year, his reckless trade policies have forced American families to pay more than $1,700 each in tariff costs. Small businesses have suffered, farmers have suffered, some losing entire markets. Everyday Americans are paying the price. And even though the Supreme Court struck these tariffs down 4 days ago, the damage to us, the American people, has already been done. Meanwhile, the president is planning for new tariffs, another massive tax hike on you and your family. And Republicans in Congress, they remain unwilling to assert their constitutional authority to stop him. They're making your life harder. They're making your life more expensive. They're even making it more difficult to see a doctor. Rural health clinics in Virginia and across the country are already closing their doors thanks to the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, championed by the president and Republicans in Congress. And tonight, the president celebrated this law, the one threatening rural hospitals, stripping healthcare from millions of Americans and driving up costs in energy and housing, all while cutting food programs for hungry kids. But here in Virginia, I am working with our state legislature to lower costs and make the Commonwealth more affordable. And it's not just me. Democrats across the country are laser focused on affordability in our nation's capital and in state capitals and communities across America. In the most innovative and exceptional nation in the history of the world, Americans deserve to know that their leaders are focused on addressing the problems that keep them up at night. Problems that dictate where you live, whether you can afford to start a business, or whether you have to skip a prescription in order to buy groceries. So I'll ask again, is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? We all know the answer is no. I grew up in a house of service. My mother was a nurse and my father was a career law enforcement officer. I began my career by following in my father's footsteps as a federal agent, working money laundering and narcotics cases. I worked side by side with local and state police to keep our community safe and to uphold and enforce the law. Law enforcement officers across the country know that it is a unique responsibility to do the serious work of investigating crimes, comforting victims, and making arrests. It's about building trust, and that requires an abiding sense of duty and commitment to community. And yet, our president has sent poorly trained federal agents into our cities, where they have arrested and detained American citizens and people who aspire to be Americans. and they have done it without a warrant. They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat, children to far off detention centers, and they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability. Every minute spent sowing fear is a minute not spent investigating murders, crimes against children, or the criminals defrauding seniors of their life savings. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children. Think about that. Our broken immigration system is something to be fixed, not an excuse for unaccountable agents to terrorize our communities. After working in law enforcement, I continued my career of service as a CIA officer, working undercover to protect the United States and our allies from global threats, terrorism, nuclear weapons, and the aggression of adversarial nations around the globe. But as the president spoke of his perceived successes tonight, he continues to cede economic power and technological strength to Russia, bow down to China, bow down to a Russian dictator, and make plans for war with Iran. Here's the truth. Over the last year, through DOGE, mass firings, and the appointment of deeply unserious people to our nation's most serious positions, our president has endangered the long and storied history of the United States of America being a force for good. So I'll ask again, is the president working to keep Americans safe, both at home and abroad? We all know the answer is no. In his speech tonight, the president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse. He tries to divide us. He tries to enrage us, to pit us against one another, neighbor against neighbor. And sometimes he succeeds. And so you have to ask, who benefits from his rhetoric, his policies, his actions, the short list of laws he's pushed through this Republican Congress? Somebody must be benefiting. He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital. This is not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot. So I'll ask again, is the president working for you? We all know the answer is no. But here's the special thing about America. On our 250th anniversary, we know better than any nation what is possible when ordinary citizens, like those who once dreamed right here in this room, reject the unacceptable and demand more of their government. We see it in the determination of students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities, from peacefully protesting in sub-zero temperatures to carpooling children to school so that their immigrant parents are not ripped away from them in the parking lot. As a mother of 3 school-aged daughters, I am inspired by their bravery, but I am sickened that it is necessary. And Americans across the country are taking action. They are going to the ballot box to reject this chaos. With their votes, they are writing a new story, a more hopeful story. In November, I won my election by 15 points. And we won 13 new seats in our state legislature. Because voters decided they wanted something different. Our campaign earned votes from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between because they knew as citizens they could demand more, that they could vote for what they believe matters, and that they didn't need to be constrained by a party or political affiliation. This is happening across the country. New Jersey elected Mikey Sherrill as governor in a double-digit victory. Democrats flipped state legislative seats in places like Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, and Texas. The list goes on and on. Ordinary Americans are stepping up to run in the spirit of our forefathers. They are running to demand more and to do more for their neighbors and communities. I know this story well. I first ran for office in 2018 alongside dozens of other Democrats who did the seemingly impossible, flipping 41 seats in Congress. In my case, I was the first Democrat elected in 50 years, swinging our district 17 points. Those who are stepping up now to run will win in November because Americans, you at home, know you can demand more and that we are working to lower costs. We are working to keep our communities and our country safe, and we are working for you. In his farewell address, George Washington warned us about the possibility of, quote, cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men rising to power. But he also encouraged us, all Americans, to unite in a common cause, to move this nation forward. That is our charge once more, and that is what we are seeing across the country. It is deeply American and patriotic to do so, and it is how we ensure that the state of our union remains strong, not just this year, but for the next 250 years as well, because we, the people, have the power to make change, the power to stand up for what is right, the power to demand more of our nation. May God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and may God bless the United States of America.
Yeah, that was pretty bland and probably too Virginia centric to be effective. But this is Ted Sturmer, and he called it. This particular video I'm about to show is from the day before. This is from Monday. And he predicted what the Democrats would do. And then after that, I'm going to show you Summer Lee. She did a response, which is what the Democrats, they should have gotten her somehow to deliver the response. But listen to what, this is Ted Sturmer. He's a historian. He's got a book coming out in June called A Resistance History of America. Listen to what he says. And he's so right. Oops.
And Trump's going to be on every screen in the country tomorrow night, like it seems on every other night. But we're not talking about him today. We're going to look at the other side of the split screen, the response. The Democrats have announced their pick to deliver the opposition response, and it feels like a very specific, calculated choice. That's because it is. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. And she's not speaking from a podium in D.C. or from Richmond. She's going to be live from Colonial Williamsburg, which, you know, to the casual observer, it looks like a nice little patriotic backdrop, bricks, history, maybe a fife and drum corps in the distance, pretty standard political theater. But maybe it isn't just a pretty background. Maybe by choosing that specific spot, the Democrats are actually making a massive statement about resistance to Trump, and where establishment Democrats see themselves in it. Hey folks, I'm Tad Sturmer. I'm a public historian and the author of Resistance History of the United States. The location itself might be the main character here. Colonial Williamsburg is doing some heavy lifting here for what I call liberal nationalism. I know liberal nationalism sounds like an oxymoron. Usually when we hear nationalism, we're thinking MAGA hats, borders, America first. You don't usually associate that word with a party that talks about diversity and globalism. But liberals do have a form of nationalism, just like they have a form of MAGA. It just looks different. It's the lifeblood of the folks who like to call themselves resistance liberals, a term that still befuddles me. But it's not just about blood and soil. It's about institutions and aesthetics and inspiration. It's about leaning into the better angels of our nature. Founders who were always on the side of democracy and diversity, they were just misunderstood. And tomorrow night, liberal nationalism might be on full display to counter Trump's version of nationalism. So let's decode that. So why Spanberg? Why a living history museum that started in the 1920s? What does all of that tell us about where the establishment Democrats are right now in 2026? To really get where this matters, we have to ask whether there were other options. We have to sort of put our political communications hats on. Did the folks at the DNC or wherever put this together, did they have a war room moment where they sat down and looked at a menu of choices where they could have framed the opposition to Trump in any number of ways? The road's not taken. So let's visualize the strategy. 4 other scenarios that could have been on the table, but each arriving at a different place. But there's a common thread through them, I think. They're opposition from inside America's current crisis. They address the mess we're actually in. They're locations that force you to look at our conflict. So let's all play political strategists for a second. Scenario A, Minneapolis, where federal agents killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Picture that. You put Ilhan Omar there. Minneapolis's tear gas, the protests, the federal occupation that kind of represents the new normal. It's visceral. If you put the response there, you're forcing the viewer to confront the reality of policing, of ICE, of the crackdowns we've seen. It's a confrontation. Remember, Omar called to abolish ICE and was attacked at her own town hall, sprayed with liquid by a man who wanted her silence. So visually, there's a split screen of Law and Order Trump versus the system that's broken, Omar. It's a direct clash. It's saying the house is on fire and we're standing in the smoke. Scenario B. This one is totally different, but still pointed. New York City. Zohran Mamdani. Maybe at the Tenement Museum of the Lower East Side. I've been there. It's an amazing place. It's cramped. It's old. It's the real thing. Walking through the lives of waves of poor immigrants from the 1900s. If you put Mamdani, an immigrant who is the mayor of America's largest immigrant city, there, standing in those rooms where people actually lived and worked and struggled, what message does that send? It might say, this is who built the country, not the guys in the wigs, but the people in the sweatshops. It frames America as a multiracial, messy, ethnically diverse immigrant project. It shows a country more democratic than the founders ever intended and might be an embrace of the future, looking at America as it is and what it might be, not what America was. Scenario 3 is probably the most aggressive one and maybe the most impressive regarding history. Sherelle Parker in Philadelphia, but not Independence Hall, at the president's house, which for those of you who haven't been following the news there, is now a site of erasure, or at least an attempt to erase Black history, that is all of our history. That's where George Washington lived and where he actually broke Pennsylvania law to keep enslaved people as property. He rotated them out of the state every 6 months so they couldn't become free. And the Trump regime tried to scrub that story and the story of all the others who lived there and were forced labor there from the site. A federal judge had to order the text restored, and the judge literally quoted Orwell's 1984 in the ruling. So imagine Parker standing there. You're highlighting what the founding fathers weren't. They weren't saints. You're saying that the fight for freedom has always been against the people in power, even from the very beginning. And that fight has its origins in the enslaved people who were the first swingers against it. That's a heavy head. That's telling the audience history is being rewritten right now, and we're here to stop it and maybe write a new one. And then there's maybe scenario D, AOC at the Munich Security Conference, the global stage. She was just there speaking to the Western Alliance, the people who think they run the world, basically. Her argument was that the Western democracies fail when elites stop delivering for the working class and authoritarianism fills that vacuum. Putting her there frames this as a global fight. It says Trump isn't just an American problem. He's part of a global wave. We need to know that. We have Minneapolis with ICE violence, the Tenement Museum with immigrants, the president's house dealing with enslaved people and their truths, and Munich representing global democracy. All of those are vital and they feel urgent. They're all engaged with all the many layered crises we have today, and they're messy and they're loud. And the Democrats looked at all those options and said, nah, let's go to the Living History Museum with costumes. And they chose Abigail Spanberger and they chose Colonial Williamsburg. And this isn't the first time. Last year, the Democrats picked Alyssa Slotkin to deliver the response to Trump's first address to Congress. Also a centrist, also a former CIA officer. Spanberger and Slotkin are actually friends. They went to Congress together in 2018. They shared an apartment on Capitol Hill. They're cut from the same cloth. So it's not a one-time calculation. The Democrats have now chosen this type twice in a row. That's a pattern, not coincidence. Tells you something about what the party's leadership thinks the opposition to Trump should look like, what they look like. Now, Spanberger deserves all kinds of props. Hell, she's the first female governor of Virginia in its history, and I'm a historian of this stuff, and that's a big deal. She checks the credential box too, and she's safe. The calculation here is entirely about November. We're 8 months away from the midterms. The strategy isn't to incite a movement or to frame a revolution. It's to comfort purple voters. Forget about you folks on the left. It's the adult in the room strategy. A former CIA officer talking about affordability and norms doesn't scare the suburban voter, the mythical middle folks, but it does go deeper than just votes. By putting her in colonial Williamsburg, they're making a specific argument about the country, that the system still works, that the patriotic story is still valid, that institutions still produce progress, that we don't need to burn it down or rethink it. We just need to restore it. Present Spanberger as the future that returns us to the past. It's like saying, vote for us and we'll make it 2016 or 2008 again, which is appealing to a lot of people. They're tired. The chaos of the last few years, the idea of just going back to something that feels normal is seductive to many, especially to white people. And that's just a fantasy, which brings us to the backdrop. Fantasy and Colonial Williamsburg seem to have a tendency of going together in those ends. So the timing's not accidental, right? It's America's 250th. You've heard that all over the place, and you're going to. And both parties are in a full sprint to own that founding, to make sure it represents them. Colonial Williamsburg's CEO is explicitly invoking it in relationship to Spanberger and all their social media posts, saying that she's going to speak from where almost exactly 250 years ago, Virginia's lawmakers voted to propose independence for all 13 colonies. That's not really a backdrop. That's an argument. The Democrats are consciously planting their flag on the anniversary, competing with Trump to be the party of 1776, which means both parties are fighting over who gets to use the same nationalist mythology. They're not offering any alternative to it. Now, I used to work at CW, and I wrote a whole book about it. I actually love the place, or at least I love the people at the place. But I think that we also have to be honest about what most people think about when they think of Colonial Williamsburg, those of us who weren't on the inside. They think of school trips. They think of Britney Spears churning butter on SNL, maybe a shoemaker making a boot. It feels benign. It feels like history or heritage. But it's really a white nationalist fantasy. And that might feel extreme. I mean, it's a living history museum. Am I really saying that a whole bunch of guys in tricorn hats and women in chintz gowns is white nationalists? Well, think about it this way. You know Ballerina Farm? The bread baking, the livestock, the chaos of a big family, all of it looked like a Ralph Lauren ad. It's curated, it's heritage aesthetic, it's traditional values packaged as authenticity. For the most part, Colonial Williamsburg is all that, especially when you go to the gift shops. It's all that, but for 1776. It's Ballerina Farm in a waistcoat. And like Ballerina Farm, the fantasy only works if you don't look too hard at everything that's left out. To understand that, you have to look at how it was built. It wasn't built in 1776. It was built in the late 1920s and 1930s, bankrolled by John D. Rockefeller. And it was an ideological project from day one. A lot of people think it's a restoration, like they fixed up the old buildings. But it's not really. CW likes to claim that it has 88 original buildings, but most of those are just parts of buildings and the constructions of others based upon informed conjecture, which is a fancy way of saying we guessed. I mean, think about Palace Green. Big, beautiful, manicured lawn where everyone takes photos right in front of the governor's palace. It's iconic, and it's a fiction. It never existed in the 18th century. That was a dirty, busy palace street, not a lawn. But Rockefeller's man on the ground in Williamsburg, the Reverend W.A.R. Goodwin, thought a proper colonial town, in his mindset, needed an English village green. It matched their aesthetic of what a nice colonial town should look like, so they just made one. They ignored history to build a fantasy of history. And the gardens, designed by a Boston landscape architect in colonial revival style, not Virginia's. The whole thing was, and despite the work of some great people since, is curated history. That's what nationalist projects do. They curate history to shape modern identity. Rockefeller won in the 18th century, but without the mess. No dirt, no poverty, no conflict, no politics. Just attractive first families of Virginia and charming tradespeople. It's revolution flavored, but it's stripped of actual life and actual revolution. It creates a narrative that says, look how orderly and polite the past was. The right people are in charge and everything was beautiful. And tells the people already inside the establishment that they belong there. It's comforting. It's a safe space for the establishment then and now. And to be fair to the living historians and archaeologists working there, they've done serious work to include the history of slavery and others and the experience of enslaved people and others. They have programs naming them, interpreters telling hard truths. They deserve credit for that work. You can get good history at CW if you look for it. But all the framing is still Rockefeller's, because the setting itself, the never was architecture, the fake green, the clean streets, it's still a heritage fantasy of order and comfort. You can put a representation of an enslaved person into that story, but if the scene itself is a lie about order, inclusion doesn't change the underlying narrative of who belongs any more than if you're doing blind casting for Hamilton. You are still standing in Rockefeller's town. You're still on a white nationalist stage. American exceptionalism for everybody. That's the stage the Democrats chose. They didn't choose the president's house in Philadelphia, where the history is raw and contested, or the tenement house in New York City, which is about what America became after 1776. They chose the ballerina farm of American history. And they chose it in the anniversary year when the entire country is being invited to feel good about 1776. That suggests they're more interested in the vibe of the founding and a 250th anniversary celebration of that vibe than the reality of it. Which brings us to the speech tomorrow night, the speech itself. To test all of this, I want to give you a field guide, basically a bingo card for you as you listen tomorrow. After the blowhard is done, if you're watching Spanberger, have this list in front of you. The first square on the bingo card, the call to unity. The other side divides, we bring together. They tear down, we build. They distract, we return you to the kitchen table and kitchen table issues. Listen for this first, because it is the first move. It establishes that resistance isn't the point, reconciliation is. It doesn't name the threat. It dissolves it into a problem of tone. Item 2, invoke the founders. This has got to come quickly. If you don't quote Jefferson or Washington, you can't really be a politician in Virginia. But look how it's done. Both Trump and Spanberger will do it. They're fighting over whose side the founders are on. It frames dead men as the ultimate authorities the president must answer to. Item 3, who we are, or this is not who we are. Our values. It's not representation of who we really are as Americans. It's a classic. It's inspiration, not activism. It assumes that there is a stable, noble American character that existed before the current crisis, is going on now underneath it, and will survive it. We just need to recover it. It ignores the fact that maybe this is who we, in fact, we are. It completely avoids holding a mirror up to us. Item 4.
Yeah, and I have said consistently that Trump is one of the most American presidents we've had. I'm gonna honestly say probably since like Andrew Johnson or Andrew Jackson. Trump is America. Trump is what white America is. That's why 64% of CNN respondents, that CNN poll, that's why 64% approved, because it was very rah-rah, but it's a distraction from what's actually happening.
4, the arc bending. Listen for, we have been here before, something like that. The arc of the moral universe bending towards justice. The rhetoric that makes the outcome feel inevitable. You don't have to do anything about it. Don't worry. The arc bends on its own because we're just that damn special. And it encourage you, as a practical matter, functioning, to be passive, let it come, let the arc bend, rather than requiring your immediate action. That might be radical. Box 5 on the bingo card, restoration language. That connects back to the heritage set. Framing the crisis as someone breaking a machine that was working perfectly. The goal is to restore norms, which ignores the fact that the before times, the status quo, wasn't working for a whole lot of people. If your goal is just to go back, you're ignoring everyone left behind in that old system. And item 6 is the big strategic one. November as the answer, the magic bullet. It treats an immediate ongoing emergency, the dismantling of democracy every day, as something that can wait 8 months for an election. Just hang on, help is in the way in late autumn, or maybe when everyone is sworn in next January. And finally, item 7, my favorite, ghosts versus people. Listen for invocation of the better angels of our nature, the spirit of the American founding. The people who historically contested the Constitution, the ones who said the document was the problem, they're never invited to Colonial Williamsburg. They summon the ghosts of the establishment, not the rebels who resisted it. So we step back and look at the full bingo card, the founders, unity, restoration, the ghosts, and we place it against that heritage backdrop, that ballerina farm lighting and those trad life colonial bricks. What is the bottom line? It'll look great on TV and online, but here's where that exercise is really measuring. The gap between the size of the crisis described, democracy in peril, and the solution proposed, which is a comforting mood, a birthday party for mythology, and waiting for November. So watch that tomorrow night. Instead of just listening to the words, think about the surrounding, the place, the space, not just the speaker. Understand that the setting is the message.
Yeah,
Pay attention to the
Trump
ghosts.
had a lot to
All
say
chat books.
about
Allison.
oops. He had a lot to oops. Sorry about that. Yeah, Trump had a lot to say about that the 250th. You know, I for the life of me don't understand. Well, I mean, look, it's easy to just fall in line, especially if you're inclined to go for the rah-rah stuff. Zhang has been kind of talking shit ever since Trump handed out those two medals of honor, which I don't know why you have to do that at a State of the Union, other than it's so staged. You get the Olympic gold medalists, you get the Medal of Honor winners. Yeah, it was a staged event made for TV, and it's all a distraction from what's actually happening. I just saw a news flash where Trump is going to withhold Medicare funding from Minnesota. He didn't mention that part at the State of the Union, and I'm sure that'll wind up in court. I don't think Trump really has the power to withhold funding like that once it's appropriated. But once again, he's trying to do that overreach. So this is the response that was really impressive. I honestly wish that the Democrats had gotten Summer Lee to do it. I didn't even know she spoke last night. Of course, I was asleep. I didn't even stay up for the State of the Union, so I would have missed this anyway. But this is what the Democrats should have been doing. They should not have gotten Spanberger to do it. They should have gotten a minority to respond. It would have been a lot more. They should have gotten Ilhan Omar to do it. That's what I would have done. But let's have a look at Summer Lee here. She did a good job, at least the part that I saw this morning.
Good evening. I'm Congresswoman Summer Lee, and I'm honored to deliver the Working Families Party response to the President's State of the Union. The Working Families Party is the political party for working people, not the bosses, not the big dollars. I'm proud to be a part of a movement that is built for and by the people. So let's start with a simple truth. What we are witnessing from our government is authoritarianism. Any response that doesn't acknowledge that truth is a disservice to Americans who deserve and need honesty right now. I listened to Donald Trump's speech tonight. While Trump and his friends profit off his presidency, he's gaslighting us. He wants to convince working families that we're better off under his regime. But we know the truth. Our country is in crisis. For millions of Americans, affordability is out of reach. Trump has driven up the unemployment rate, cutting thousands of federal jobs across the country. Everything he does is making Americans less safe at home and abroad. He's bringing us to the brink of wars in the Middle East and South America. And at home, ICE agents are hunting down human beings and cities are under siege. The FBI is raiding election offices in Georgia. Students are being disappeared for protesting tyranny and genocide in Palestine. The environmental protections we earned after a generation of advocacy are being stripped away. Educators are facing attacks on public and higher education because diversity and truth threaten corporate power. Workers are facing union busting and retaliation. And the Republican-led Congress, it's abdicated its post as a co-equal branch and yielded itself to the oligarchs in the White House. Trump bragged about his tariffs, but they were never about creating jobs. They were a tool for Trump to bully countries or companies into paying fealty to him personally, and about making working people pay the price for his tax cuts for billionaires. The courts have blocked his illegal actions, but for too many small businesses and consumers, the damage is done. He played up his tax cuts, but forgot to mention that it's $1 trillion giveaway to the wealthiest and well-connected. He talked a big game about banning stock trading, but wants to exempt himself so he can keep on cashing in. The state of the union is dire. We can't afford to believe Trump's lies, and we have to pay attention to his actions. This is not a normal time, and our response to it can't be politics as usual. Trump's speech wasn't a list of accomplishments. It was more like an obituary for the country working people built and a celebration for the billionaires who want to strip it for parts. An obituary for our right to vote, for the ability to make rent or the chance to own a home, for good jobs with the right to organize and strike and stick up for each other. Trump's policies are hurting our communities. Working people feel it every single day. We certainly feel it where I come from in Western Pennsylvania, where I was born, raised, and now represent in Congress. I know what it's like to come from a working class background, to be burdened by student debt, and to witness our communities be neglected time and again. I ran for office because I wanted to make sure the marginalized and unheard voices of my district.
You know what? This is exactly the essence of MAGA. So, I've been reading, I've talked about the empire of cotton. The Rockefellers did not lay bricks. They did not pick cotton. Zhang, this fucked up idea that the working class didn't actually do the blood, sweat, and tears of building skyscrapers and tunnels and bridges, and slaves didn't provide the cotton or didn't pick the cotton that built the United States economy. This is the result of a poor education, and the United States K through 12 education system is doesn't teach history and critical thinking by design. America and MAGA in particular, they want a whole generation of Zhang Weis, people who don't question, people who buy the bullshit, people who actually think that this country was just thought into. See, when they taught you that America was built on an idea, you think this country was just built by Jefferson and the founding fathers and framers. They thought it up and it sprang from their head. Nobody died in wars. Nobody died in cotton fields. Nobody died in a civil war. Soldiers are working people too. You sound ignorant, Zhang, but you are the foot soldier that MAGA so dearly wants to cookie cutter turn out. It's truly surprising how ignorant this statement is. I'm fucking shocked.
Had representation. Special interests and dark money went hard against me, and still we won. In my district, Pennsylvania's 12th, people work way harder than their paychecks and bank accounts will ever reflect. It's a place where teachers and nurses like my sister show up even when they're exhausted. Where steel workers carry the pride of generations in their hands, and where restaurant cooks start before sunrise and don't sit down again until midnight. and where childcare workers do some of the hardest work in America and still struggle to pay the rent. We have world-class hospitals, yet people can't access the care they need. Insurance companies drive families into bankruptcy. Parents work 2 jobs and still can't afford childcare. Patients ration medicine just to make it to the end of the month. No matter how hard we work, we continue to struggle. That's the real state of our union. This is not an accident. Trump is failing all of us, but he is not failing everybody. Trump promised to lower our costs. Instead, he gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% while cutting your Medicaid and SNAP by $1.1 trillion. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania alone, 300,000 people are going to lose Medicaid within the next year. He promised us public safety, but we have an FBI director who's focused on flying on private jets to concerts and hockey games using our tax dollars. Trump promised accountability and transparency, but his DOJ is violating our subpoena, protecting pedophiles and burying documents that name him in the Epstein files. He said he'd make government more efficient.
Oh, and by the way, she's not being, quote, hyperbolic about the Epstein files. Apparently, there's like 50 some pages that weren't released because there's an accusation against Trump himself. So his Justice Department didn't release that part.
But now seniors can't get anybody on the phone to explain why their Social Security payments stopped. While Americans' bank accounts are being drained, Trump and his family have gained billions of dollars from foreign payments and corrupt oligarchs. And while our hearts break for children trapped in ICE detention, Palantir gets to walk away with $1 billion contract. This is corporate greed and profiteering, and it's a moral failure. We live in the wealthiest country in the world, yet corporate profits grow and wages don't. The stock market may be helping CEOs, but it does nothing for working people's pocketbooks. The portfolios of AI moguls that see no place for you and me in their future might be growing, but not as fast as the unemployment rate for Black women. That's up 20% just from last year.
Yeah, I think
the concentration of wealth has created 2 separate Americas. One for working person,
I think that
one for the wealthy.
edgelord humor
And for years, powerful men like Donald Trump and Elon Musk have used the politics of fear and division, telling us that we should blame our neighbors for our struggles. They need you to believe the problem is.
I will encourage you not to exercise your free speech rights, or I'll just time you out for 24 hours. You've had your chance to tone it down, so up to you, son.
The immigrant or the trans kid or someone who looks differently or worships differently than you, they want you to look anywhere but at them. So whether you live in a city where the rent is too damn high, or in a small town where the factory closed down, or whether you come from a community hit by gun violence, opioids, floods, or fires, working families are facing this same reality. Wages that don't keep up with costs, and a system built for corporate CEOs, and a government that is just not doing enough.
Well, Zhang, I guess I'm going to treat you.
Squeezing the people who have it hardest.
Well, Zhang, I'm going to treat you like an anchor baby then. How about that? Let's, I just assume you're kind of hangry or something. So, see you later.
The communities with the least power, the workers with the least protection, and the families already living on the edge. But we don't have to accept that. The rich, connected, and well-protected may want us to believe this has to remain the status quo, but we can work to make things right. We've seen working people come together from the civil rights movement to the creation of labor unions to change this country for the better, despite powerful opposition. So right now, we need bold policy proposals that meet this moment. We can build an America that works for the many and not just the money. An America where you can actually afford a home, where healthcare is guaranteed, with affordable childcare and education, with paid family and medical leave, and jobs with a union standard. We can create a just and humane immigration system. And let's be clear, you can't reform oppression or hatred. You must abolish it. We can have environmental policies that put the health of our people and our planet over the profits of oil and gas executives. We can fund education instead of endless war and genocide in Palestine or Sudan or anywhere else in this world. That vision is not radical. It is the bare minimum required for a healthy democracy and for people to pursue happiness and live with dignity. Imagine what it would mean if healthcare wasn't tied to your job and where you can see a doctor without checking your bank account first, or no parent ever rationing insulin, no family starting a GoFundMe to survive cancer. Medicare for All doesn't just save money. It saves lives. It keeps families out of bankruptcy. Imagine a national jobs program that guarantees dignified union work. Rebuilding roads and bridges, caring for seniors and children, installing clean energy, building affordable housing. No more telling young people there's nothing here for you, or no more small towns hollowed out and just forgotten. A good job does more than pay the bills. It builds pride and community. Imagine childcare that doesn't swallow half your paycheck, and paid leave that allows you to heal, to bond with your newborn, or to care for a parent without risking your livelihood. When people have the basic secured, stress goes down, small businesses grow, families stay together, and democracy actually works because people aren't trapped in survival mode. When the foundation is strong, people can breathe again. We, the people, need this. We need a healthy democracy and systems that work for us. We can have this now. Don't let anybody tell you we can't afford it. We somehow find endless money for ICE, for private prisons to warehouse Black and brown people, and for bombs to be sent abroad. But we're told healthcare and childcare are too expensive. And when we begin questioning those priorities, the powerful try to divide us once more. But that old playbook is losing its grip. When Trump returned to the White House for a second time, too many institutions surrendered. But ordinary people stood up. When federal immigration agents invaded Los Angeles and Minneapolis, when they killed Keith Porter and Renee Good and Alex Preety, people didn't stand by. They stood together, protesting, documenting abuses, building mutual aid networks, demanding that ICE gets out of their communities and that Congress not give them another penny. I believe the American people deserves leaders who are as brave as they are, who will wake up every morning ready to fight like hell. This year, we can flip Congress against Trump and against this rigged status quo, but we can't do it by electing more of the same. The Democratic Party is at a crossroads. On one side are millions of working people demanding bold action, lower costs, higher wages, Medicare for all. On the other side are corporate donors and consultants who are terrified of upsetting the very interests that rigged this economy in the first place. That tension shows up in watered down bills and speeches that sound bold but govern small. You can't promise relief while protecting corporations driving up the prices. You can't stand with labor while taking checks from the union-busting CEOs. And you cannot defeat MAGA while keeping billionaires comfortable. In other words, you can't serve two masters. That's why the Working Families Party exists, to help us bring bolder people into government who better reflect the vision of working people. Look at Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, a daughter of Guatemalan immigrants in Chicago who expanded Medicaid, built affordable housing, and protected people from eviction as a state legislator before bringing that same fight to Congress. Or Congresswoman Latifah Simon, who worked for more than 30 years helping survivors of violence and trafficking. Now she's here in Congress to push for affordable housing and transit that connects people and that helps them get to work, and for an economy that doesn't treat Black and brown communities as disposable. Look at New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who took on Andrew Cuomo and his corporate backers and won. He led a movement of renters, young people, and working families who had been told their voices did not matter. He proved that when you show up, when you speak clearly about how to meet people's basic needs, the people respond. And now look at New Jersey's newest Democratic nominee, Anna Lilia Mejia. She started her race at 5%. She was outspent 10-1, and she still won because she outworked party bosses and billionaires. And as a former director of the New Jersey Working Families Party, she had a record of delivering, raising the minimum wage, guaranteeing paid sick days, and defending voting rights. And there is more of this to come. Our democracy does not work when big money owns politicians. Americans are sick of a corrupt elite few causing all this harm. And that's why I introduced a bill to abolish the super PACs they use to control our country. The obscenely rich shouldn't be able to call the shots in our democracy, and they shouldn't be able to escape accountability. That's also why I moved to subpoena the DOJ to release the full, unredacted Epstein files back in July. I know what it feels like to be targeted by billionaires, to face attack ads and smear campaigns meant to silence you. It was demoralizing and exhausting. It was also a waste of their money because our movement won, and we have to keep winning. Because when we have progressives in Congress, we get legislation that meets the moment. We get people who fight for accountability and justice. We get opportunities to do the right thing. So if you're sick of the corruption and the cruelty in this administration, if you're frustrated by Democrats who speak boldly but deliver cautiously, or sometimes even vote with MAGA, then believe that change can and will happen if we build political power together. That's what we're doing at the Working Families Party. Join us. Let me end with this. Trump is trying to steal everything that isn't nailed down for himself and his obscenely wealthy friends. But this level of thievery requires consent. It requires silence, exhaustion, resignation, but we do not have to consent. Our organized labor and our organized money are far more powerful than they want us to believe. So join us. We can reject authoritarianism. We can reject corporate power. We can get money out of politics. We can choose a different path, one where we have each other's backs, because working people are the majority. And when we come together and fight, we win. Thank you and good night.
I'll drop this link in the chat for you, Natasha. I see that there's some information you might be able, that might be a good place to start your research. I looked her up. She's a representative from the Pittsburgh area, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. And she's listed as a Democrat. So I don't know. She's a progressive Democrat, obviously. But it was actually, I don't know why the Democrats played it so safe, but it was very ho-hum. It was very ho-hum. I don't know. Democrats are not going on the attack, and they really need to. This just will not do. And before I go, couple things, because I actually had a few news stories that I wanted to talk about, mostly in the area of Epstein. So, leader of Columbia Brain Institute quits over friendship with Epstein. This dude's a Nobel laureate. So he's he says his association with Jeffrey Epstein was a serious error in judgment. Let's see. Dr. Axel is not accused of wrongdoing in connection with Mr. Epstein, but the files show he was a frequent guest of Mr. Epstein at his Manhattan home, and he also served as an intermediary on Mr. Epstein's behalf with Columbia officials involved in admissions and philanthropy. But he's not the only fallout victim from academia. Larry Summers, resigns from Harvard. He was former president, but he had stepped back from some public stuff, but now he's resigned from actually teaching. So he stepped back teaching after documents showed a closer relationship to Jeffrey Epstein than previously known. He will leave at the end of the academic year. So, I wonder if he'll get emeritus status. And this Epstein files are missing. Records about woman who made claim against Trump. Documents released by the Justice Department briefly mention a woman's unverified accusation that Donald J. Trump assaulted her in the 1980s when she was a minor, but several memos related to her account are not in the files. So, yeah, this Epstein thing is something Trump is trying to distract us from, and people like Zhang Wei are taking the bait. And I actually I had to talk about this. The rise of eyes began with just one. So how could I resist? Even Charles Darwin was puzzled by the evolution of the vertebrate eye. New research suggests that it traces back to a cyclopean invertebrate with a single eye atop the head. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a auto reader, but let's see. Dan E. Nilsson, a neurobiologist at Lund University in Sweden, grew so annoyed by these claims. Basically, opponents of evolution cast doubt on the idea that eyes could evolve. So this guy got annoyed at that theory. He concluded that an image-forming eye could evolve in just a few 100,000 years. A model only addressed how the shape of eyes evolved. In actuality, many other changes occurred along the way. He and vision experts have now joined forces to develop a hypothesis. You look at all the evidence in your head and suddenly it clicks, said Tom Baden, a neurobiologist at the University of Sussex. What we've done is we've provided a plausible set of steps that got us here. On top of their heads, these forerunners of vertebrates possessed a single patch of light-sensitive cells. Those cells track the cycle of day and night, setting the animal's body clocks, and also provided simple clues about their position so that animals could keep their head just high enough to eat without being eaten. Some of the descendants of this cyclopean ancestor left their burrows and started to swim. They were still simple creatures with tiny brains, and they still filtered food from the water they swam through, but now they needed more information about their environment. Their single eye grew more complex. Cup-shaped depressions evolved on either side, sensitive to the direction of incoming light. An awareness of the direction of light helped animals travel through the water, enabling to stay upright and stable. Over millions of years, our filter-feeding ancestors evolved into tiny fish, complete with brains and mouths they could use to catch live animals. All these proto-retinas moved to the sides of the head. The wiring between light-sensitive cells now made new connections, producing sharper vision. So anyway, this particular article is actually in the show notes. If anybody wants to know about how eyes might have evolved from simple one-eyed invertebrates into what they are today in vertebrates. So I don't know. It's almost 9. I don't really have anything else. I had fun reviewing the State of the Union and dealing with the MAGA pest. Hopefully he comes back with a better attitude tomorrow. I don't mind, the pro MAGA stuff, but when you start saying, like out of the blue that start talking shit about Tuskegee Airmen, that's like that's unnecessary racist shit. I will never understand how people are just gratuitously horrible like that. Let's see here. So I don't think there are any single Medal of Honors, but the Tuskegee Airmen as a group were presented a Congressional Gold Medal of Honor. So I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure why people just spontaneously say racist shit like that. I guess it's some sort of edgelord thing. So, well, you're welcome, Natasha. I don't know. I don't know that my being a veteran would actually make that much of a difference, but if nothing else, I kind of have an idea of how leadership works, and Trump just isn't it. I like my leadership, to be the kind of leadership that, hey, you know what? I want my kid to grow up to be just like this leader. And I've had, at least one captain of a ship, a dude. We would, if he said, let's go to war, I would be right there. He was a great guy. Taught me to be a better engineer, that's for sure. So anyway, with all that, I will be back tomorrow at the normal time. I was a little late today, about an hour late. I just was not feeling well, so I had to take an old man nap. But to my defense, I'm usually up at like 6 in the morning, just because I just naturally wake up at 6 in the morning. And I'm not really a morning person, but these days, it's kind of when I wake up. So I had been up and I did get some things done. So so we go. So I will see everybody tomorrow afternoon. You all have a good night. Yeah. With all that we have given them, we
Stanley
should own perhaps at least one half of this asset.
Smart,
the revenues generated because of it.
Coors Light philosopher.
And it's not it, just take out the Obama race part. Why the fuck is the president of the United States hosting cartoons?
Stanley walked tall with a paperback brain. Quotes
well, I don't know what it was, but the thing is that if you ever go and you kind of read these people's biographies,
fearing his shoes, library brave.
Whew, the MAGA blacks, you get a bunch of MAGA blacks. That's what you get out of it, President. You get MAGA blacks who will put. They will
shaped like a shroom.
And then the other thing we've forgotten is brevity. That's the main lesson I learned today, and I know